Yeah, we back. Battlestar Trucking with your host and pilot, Bedrock. What's happening, man? Coming to you live from the most hated company on the motherfucking planet, Western Express Lease Purchasing this bitch. I'm hyped right now. I have my coffee. I'm on another run. On my way to motherfucking somewhere in Tennessee, Midway, Tennessee. Look that shit up because it's not Midway. Anyway, we're gonna talk a little bit more. This is our latest business meeting about Western Express lease purchase, right? So before I get into any other bullshit that comes involved with trucking, how do you win in Western Express lease purchase? First and foremost, how do you win? If motherfuckers ain't talking about fuel, then they ain't talking about no business. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can only win in trucking and in Western Express lease purchase trucking if you understand fuel. So we're going to talk about it real quick. It's not going to take that long. It's just some quick mathematics. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I like to do my fuel from the beginning of the week and moving on towards the end of the week. So, fuel. Your fucking lease purchase truck needs diesel and DEF, right? What is diesel? What is DEF? I'm not going to get into that shit. I'm not building out a science guy. We talking about how to make money. All right? So, just to give you an example about my fueling week, at the beginning of the week, for Western Express, the beginning of the week is Sunday. That's the beginning of the pay week. So what I like to do, whether it's Sunday or Monday when I get my first load, is I fuel all the way up. Wherever I'm at, on the motherfucking clock, or on the gas tank, I'm fueling that shit all the way up to full. You understand what I'm saying? So automatically at the beginning of the week, I'm gonna see how much money I spent on fuel right off the jump. But I need a full tank of gas. You know what I'm saying? Because my first load might be 400, 500 miles. You know, if I'm looking at the load board correctly and my dispatcher's on point, my first load would be 400 or 500 miles. But I don't care how many miles it is. I need a full tank of gas. And what I'm gonna do with that full tank, I'm gonna run that motherfucker out. You understand what I'm saying? And when I say I'm gonna run it out, I'll probably run a full tank of gas till it gets to a quarter tank. Now, how to understand a full tank of gas? You know, most of the time, on average, a full tank of gas is about 900 to 1,000 miles on the semi. Okay, before you get into weight and miles per hour and miles per gallon, that shit. On average, 900 to 1,000 miles is a full tank of gas. So by the time I get to a quarter tank, I know I got about 250 miles left, give or take. And I'll decide what kind of fuel solution I'm gonna do for myself. You know what I'm saying, to run the next load. So, unlike being a company driver, where Western Express sends you a fuel solution that you have to follow, in lease purchase, you're basically doing your own fuel solutions. Western Express is going to send you a recommendation and a list of stops for pilots where you can fuel up, and but you don't have to use it. If you want to go a little bit further or you want to go a little bit shorter to a pilot and fuel up, that's on you. They're not forcing you to use a particular fuel solution because you lease purchase. That's all I know. You lease purchase, and they're not forcing you to do a fuel solution, to use their fuel solution. But you need to be able to compute and calculate your own fuel solutions. What does that mean? Okay, let's continue with my example. I fueled up at the beginning of the week, wherever the arrow was pointing. Once I got my last load or delivered my last load Friday or Saturday, I'm fueling up. So I got 900 to 1,000 miles on my fucking gas tank, right? That's the easy part. So now I know if I fill up, just FYI, if you fill up anywhere from anywhere around that red mark to full, it's going to be about $500. Okay, to fill up a semi from E to full is about $650. But you ain't never gonna go that low, because that's too dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Because if you go that low into them red hash marks, and the next pilot ain't for like 100 miles and you ain't paying attention, your ass gonna run out of gas. Or you're gonna have to go to a fueling station that's not in the Western Express network, so to speak, but you're only gonna be able to get about $50 worth of gas. Okay, Pilot is the fuel partner with Western Express lease purchase. If you go anywhere else, it will authorize the transaction, but you're only gonna be able to fuel up about $50. Okay, which ain't shit on a semi. Alright, so back to my example, right? So my first couple of loads, I'm good, right? I'm running the gas tank out. I'm not worried about fueling up my first couple of loads. If one load is 500 miles or 400 miles, then I know I got 400 to 500 miles left in fuel. So what I'm gonna do is, as I get down to a quarter of a tank, which is about 250 miles left, that's my empty mark right there, right? So if I get another load and let's start doing the math. If I get my next load and it's 300 miles, we're gonna keep nice whole numbers, 300 miles, then I'm only gonna get 300 miles worth of fuel, okay? My loaded miles, which means I already picked up my load, not empty miles, not total miles for the whole trip, my loaded miles. So that means I already picked up my load and I set my GPS to get running, and I got 300 miles, right? I'm only gonna purchase 300 miles worth of fuel, right? How many gallons is 300 miles? Good question, Bedrock. If you divide that 300 miles by the miles per gallon that your truck uses on average, it's gonna spit out a number, right? It's gonna spit out about maybe 40 to 41 gallons. That's 300 miles, 40 to 41 gallons, give or take. My truck runs on average 7.3 miles per gallon, right? So I'm gonna take 300 miles and I'm gonna divide that by 7.3, right? The solution is gonna be about 40 to 41 miles, and it's gonna have a bunch of numbers at the end, but I usually just round it up. You know what I'm saying? I'll just do the 41 miles, or if I'm in a good mood, I'll do the 42. I'll do 42 miles. I'll just round it up. On average, I'm just gonna do the 41 miles. Soon, you know what I'm saying? So if I gotta run 300 miles, I got a quarter tank left. If I know I gotta run 300 miles, I'm gonna get 300 miles worth of gas, right? How to do it even better, which I've also started doing, right? Check this out. If I got that same quarter tank, which is 250 miles, right? I hope y'all taking notes. You can rewind this bitch anytime you want. Make sure you subscribe, because we're gonna have more business meetings coming later on. So if I got a quarter of a tank, which is roughly about 250 miles, right? My loaded miles to my destination, to the customer, is 300 miles, right? So you might be thinking in your mind, well, why don't you just fuel up the 50 miles and you'll have the 300? No, because the 250 miles left for that quarter tank is going to take me down to E. And I need to be able, and I'm not going to be able to, there's a chance I might not be able to find a pilot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even, we ain't even gonna go that far. I'm not running my truck down to E. Okay, that's just stupid. So, but we're gonna start over. If I have a quarter of a tank, which is roughly about 250 miles, what I might do, and what I normally started doing later on as I got further into lease purchase, I might just fuel up 150 miles. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna run more loads. So I might just save money on fuel if I got loaded miles 300, I might, and I got a quarter of a tank 250, I might just get, well, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to get 150 miles of diesel, right? We're going to get DEF anyway. We're going to get 150 miles of diesel. So I'm going to save even more money. Why? Because if I got 250 on the Arrow, 250 miles on the tank right now, and I purchase 150 miles, which you divide 150 by 7.3, which is my average miles per hour, right? Do the math on your calculator. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get 150. I'm gonna purchase 150 miles worth of diesel. Okay. So what does that give me now as far as range? Now I have 400 miles worth of gas. Okay? Or diesel, I'm sorry. Now I have 400 miles worth of diesel. Instead of purchasing 300 miles, I cut that in half because I already had 200 miles worth of diesel. So now I have 400 miles worth of diesel in the truck. My load is only 300 miles loaded, right? I've already picked up my load. I left the shipper. I set my GPS already. This is not me going to get my load. This is loaded miles. I've already picked up the load and set the GPS. It's telling me to get from the shipper to the customer is 300 miles, right? I'm going to say it again. I have 250 miles on the tank right now, which is a quarter of a tank, roughly. If I purchase 150 miles worth of diesel, that's 150 miles divided by my average miles per gallon, which is 7.3, right? And I'm gonna get a number that pops up on my calculator, and I'm only gonna pump that much, those many gallons. That's it. So now I have 400 miles. So I'm saving money fueling up, right? Because I already have diesel in the truck. So I have 400 miles. What does that mean? I'm gonna drive 300, give or take, right? Depending on how, it's not gonna take me any more than, it's only gonna take a couple of miles to get to the shipper. If it's not 300, it might be 301. You know what I'm saying? You might have to drive around a block or some shit like that. But 300 miles to get to the shipper. That's gonna leave me with 100 miles in the tank. That's under a quarter of a tank, right? So I'm gonna have 100 miles in the tank. That's plenty of fuel for me to get to my next gas station. Because you're already gonna look it up. When you drop off, you're already gonna do your trip planning. You're gonna see where you're dropping off the load at. You're gonna look for the nearest pilot. Okay? If it's a major city, there's probably 6 of them motherfuckers around. But you're gonna look for the closest pilot. If the closest pilot is within 50 miles of the drop for the customer, then that's perfect. I'm going to that pilot. Regardless of what happens after I drop off to the job, I'm going to that pilot. I'm on my way to that pilot. Okay? If it's especially within 50, matter of fact, if it's within 20, 30 miles, I'm going to that pilot. Okay? This all revolves around doing good trip planning. If I'm planning on running my gas tank down to within 100 miles of diesel, you have to look ahead to where your customer drop-off is and look for the closest fueling station, the closest pilot. That's the only way that's the only way my cheap plan works. So I don't want to fuel up 300. I'm gonna fuel up 150 because there's a pilot that's right off the interstate after I drop off to my customer. So I'm going straight to that while I'm getting fuel. By the time I get to that pilot, I should have already gotten my next load to let me know where I'm going. Right? So that's the first example. Okay? You're either gonna fuel the exact miles you need loaded, or you can cut that in half or fuel less miles because you already have fuel in the tank, which is the ideal solution. That is the ideal solution. Okay? If there's any confusion about what I just said, rewind the motherfucking video. Or you can message me or comment. I'll return the message. If you're not being negative or being a dick, I'll respond to your messages. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to deliver the knowledge because motherfuckers is out here on the road freaking out. Talking about Western Express ain't getting me no money. When I got my settlement, it was only fucking $300. And when I be seeing videos like that, I be like, you bugging. I don't care what nobody says, bro.
2 miles ahead, use the left 2 lanes to stay on I-26 West.
Word. I don't care what nobody says about trucking. Motherfuckers be out there talking about freight is slow right now. Freight is this, freight is that. I ain't got nothing to do with that shit. I look at my little load board that is provided by Western Express Lease Purchase. I look at the load board, see what's available, and I make a business decision about what direction I want to go and what load I want to take. I send it to my dispatcher. He sends it to the planner so they can start getting to work on that. And it comes to my screen and the load is ready to go. If they can't give me the load that I wanted, they'll probably give me the next closest load. It'll probably still have good miles on it. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's in the direction I want to go, I ain't gonna trip. Sometimes I get tired of going in the same direction. I'll be like, man, switch this up. You know what I'm saying? I know this is a business, but dude.
1 mile ahead, use the left 2 lanes to stay on I-26 West.
Copy. But I don't listen to motherfuckers out there talking about what's going on with freight. You know what I'm saying? You ain't no damn distributor. You a driver just like me. You listening to somebody else telling you freight is slow. How the fuck is freight slow? I'm looking at trucks going the same direction as me. I'm looking at trucks going in the opposite direction as me all day long. Where the fuck is freight slow at? Slow in your mind because you don't want to drive. Or, like I said in my last video, you want to be home on the weekend. That's why you don't want to make no money. You want to be home on the weekend. That's cool.
0.3 miles ahead, about the use freight. The left 2 lanes to stay on I-26 West.
And don't complain about the Western Express lease purchase experience, nigga, because I'm out here living it.
Use the left 2 lanes to stay on I-26 West.
I got it. I'm out here living this shit, and I'm having a good time, and I'm making some good money. The only way I don't make money is if I fuck it up.
56.6 miles ahead, use the right 2 lanes to stay on I-26 West.
The only way I don't make no good money is if I fuck it up. Or if I'm not paying attention to how I'm fueling. You know what I'm saying? I get comfortable and then I start fueling improperly. Which doesn't happen often, but sometimes you get distracted. And that would be my next piece of advice. Don't get distracted at the fuel pump. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking on the phone or text messaging or whatever the fuck y'all be doing at the fuel pump, got your face on you, staring at your damn phone, pay attention to the pump. If you know you only need 41 gallons, pay attention to the pump. And when that shit hit 41 gallons, you hit the button. You slap that button down so motherfucking fast. You know what I'm saying? Don't go reach for the handle on the fuel hose. That takes too long. You gotta walk over there. As soon as that motherfucking ticker on there says 41 gallons, you slap the button down so it stops fueling. Pay attention. Right? Because that's the only way you're gonna fuck it up. And that's the last time, that's the one way I fucked it up. And that's only gonna happen one time. I wasn't paying attention. I'm bullshit on the phone, laughing and giggling on my phone call. And I wasn't paying attention to the goddamn fuel pump. And it went over what I wanted to pump. I'm like, fuck, that's my money. Shit. You know what I'm saying? I shook it off. That's the first and last time that's gonna happen. Right? So, if anybody has questions about fueling, like I said, tap into this video, share the video, subscribe, because there's more videos to come. I try to explain shit in the simplest way possible. You know what I'm saying? If you new to trucking or new to lease purchase, just fuel the gallons for your loaded miles. Okay? It's not your personal vehicle. You cannot go to the fuel pump and fill up. Every time you do a couple of loads, you trying to fill up the tank. Are you bugging? You bugging. Because if you do that, you ain't gonna have no money at the end of the week when your settlement come in. And you're gonna be blaming Western Express. And you know what I'm saying? I'm on your side. There's a lot of shit that you can blame on Western Express. Fuel ain't one of them. So that's a wasted conversation. Western Express only paid me $200. Nah, motherfucker, they paid you what was left over because you kept trying to, you know what I'm saying, fill up your tank every time you went to go fuel. Silly rabbit. You know what I'm saying? So if you got any questions, holla at me, subscribe, rewatch the video. I don't mind responding to messages and comments, but if you ask me a silly question, I'm gonna say rewatch the video and take notes and use your calculator. All right? Got any more questions about lease purchase? We're gonna have more videos, more business meetings, so to speak, in the future. You know what I'm saying? Happy trucking. Keep it between the mustard and the mayonnaise. And I'll see y'all on the road. Holla.